Hi, you guys. Dave Hawkins here, former United States Air Force T-38 instructor pilot. Um, Gonna do a second video on instrument flying. This is entitled Always Trust Your Instruments When You're in the Weather, Part 2. And you can see Part 1, and I talked a lot about this. For this video, we're gonna focus on the actual instrument approach. Okay, and for the instrument approach, we are at Kansas City Downtown Airport, Wheeler Field, and we've got ILS runway 19. The frequency for that is 1099. The intercept altitude is 2600 right here, but we're going to use 1800 and keep it in a little tighter. The decision height is 1004, so very important to remember that. Keep that in mind. And the course is 192. So I've set that all up in here. I've got 1099 in both my nav radios. I've got 192 in both my CDIs. And I've got in my mind 1,000 feet, basically, right there. 750 is the field elevation. So it's like 250 feet above field elevation is my decision height. Okay, I've got my flaps set to 10%. I've got my takeoff trim set right about there. Might be a little bit nose low or nose high. Okay, and then I like my display to be set right about there. And my VFR map I've got on 20 nautical miles. I'll show you that as we get airborne. But that's just about set up, and we're just gonna, let me make sure my winds are calm, because I just want calm winds for this. Jump in here and check the winds. Okay, 4 knots. We don't even want that at all. We want calm winds. Okay, now we're ready to go. Power's going to come up. And check the engine. Looks good. Release the brakes. Nose wheel's a little squirrely in the simulator. Do the best we can. When we take off, we're going to transition to that attitude indicator and establish 5 degrees nose high, hands off by trimming. Okay, 50 knots, lift off, raise the flaps, and I'm going for 5 degrees nose high, positive rate of climb. I want about 500 VVI, and I want to trim to make it stay there. Trim, 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 trim. Now I actually hit a button wrong, so my trim got off. But, okay, there we go. That's about what I want right there. I'm off my heading just a little bit. But I'm keeping my climb going, 5 degrees nose high. Now I'm safely above the airport, and so I'm gonna turn crosswind. And what heading do I want? I want about a 100 heading. That'd be a good crosswind. I want to keep 5 degrees nose high. I don't want more than about 15 degrees of bank in this airplane when flying instruments. Okay, so there's 15 degrees of bank, 5 degrees nose high. My climb is still coming along real nice. Here comes my heading, 100. And there it is, right there. We're just going to keep flying on that heading until we get to 1,800 feet altitude, and then we're going to turn downwind and speed things up and focus on the approach. So remember what I taught you on the first lesson is always trust your instruments. This is what I'm looking at mainly. I want 5 degrees nose high while I'm in a climb, and I want it to be 5 degrees nose high, hands off, okay? And then I'm approaching my altitude, so I want to level off, and now I want that dot right on the horizon. I want to pull the power back to about 2200 RPM, keep on my heading of 100, back a little bit more on the power, right about there, 1800 feet. Now I'm level, and now I can go ahead and turn downwind. You can see on the VFR map my track, 15 degrees of bank again. Nose probably has to be about 1 degree nose high to maintain altitude, especially in a turn. Okay, so I'm in 15 degrees of bank, turn again, turning to downwind. My focus is almost exclusively on this instrument. I'm just briefly cross-checking the other instruments. You can see that my altitude's slipping just a little bit, so I adjust, and here comes my heading. 010 is my heading that I want. Okay, so there I am at 010 on my heading. My altitude is 1800 feet, and I just make tiny corrections now to adjust everything. I really want the plane to fly straight and level with hands off. So now I'm not touching the stick at all, and it's doing pretty good. Actually, it came up just a little bit, so I push it down and I adjust the trim just slightly. Really want to get it hands off if I can. Okay, so there we are, established on downwind. I'm going to put it on pause, and now we're just going to slew the aircraft forward. And you can see on the VFR map that MKC is coming to the bottom of the map. When it gets right about there, we want to stop and come out of slew mode, and that'll get us quickly to a position for turning base, and that's what we want to do. So now we're going to fly an instrument approach, and we're going to turn base. So what does that mean? What heading do we turn to? An exact 90-degree base would be a heading of 280, which is right there. We could do that. It kind of depends on how far we are away from the center line. I'll probably turn to that initially, and then right away I'll probably turn to about 240 or 230. Might even turn to 220, and that will be my intercept heading. So crosswind heading is going to be 280. My intercept heading is going to be, my runway heading plus 30, plus 40, something like that. 19 plus 40 is 230, so I'm guessing 230 would be a good intercept heading. In this plane, you can do a pretty aggressive intercept heading and not overshoot the runway center line because it's a slow airplane. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to come off pause here, and then again I'm going to focus on this, my attitude indicator. The dot is going to stay pretty much on the horizon, maybe slightly nose high, and then I'm going to turn 15 degrees of bank to 280 initially. Okay, ready? Here we go. Initiate my turn. There's 15 degrees of bank, and I'm working to maintain my altitude, level flight, 1800 feet, and trying to turn over to my heading of 280 initially. Okay, 300, 300, here we come. There's 280 right there. Now I can put it on pause again, and let's just look at this. Okay. Seeing what I see, here's the runway extension right here, center line. I'm going to go ahead and put a intercept angle in right away. So let's come off pause, and we're going to go ahead and turn to what I said, which was 240. We'll just use 240 as an intercept heading. Okay. 1800 feet, 240, there we go. Now it's okay if it's 230, that's all right also, somewhere in there, 240. Now what we're doing, we are on an intercept to the localizer. So we have to start watching the localizer needle. And it's right over here, here, and here, and it's gonna come off that wall, okay? It's gonna come off the wall, and then we're gonna turn to the runway heading. And we've got a pretty steep intercept heading right now, so we're going to have to watch it close. As soon as that sucker comes off the wall, we're going to want to make our turn. Okay, 1800 feet, 240, everything's looking good. Okay, I don't see it coming off the wall yet, but it's not going to be long. Looking over at our VFR map over there. Okay, and when it comes, we got to be ready. Okay, there it comes. So now I'm going to turn 15 degrees bank again. And 1800 feet still. and it's almost centered, not quite. So we're going to come with a little bit of small intercept, 195, something like that. Okay, 1800 feet still is what we want. 195 is my chosen heading. 195, 1800 feet. Now I'm just monitoring that. When it gets centered, I'm going to go to more like 192. Okay, I'm at 195 right now, and I'm also watching the glide slope needle. This, and this. When that starts coming down, we know that we got to get ready to descend. So 195 is getting me on track pretty good. Now I'm going to go to 192 and try to hold 192. Okay. I went a little bit overboard. 193 maybe, something like that. Okay, 193 ought to hold me pretty good. Now the glide path is coming, and so I'm going to get my power back just a little bit. When that thing centers, I'm going to drop my flaps to 10%, and I'm going to lower the dot on the attitude indicator to about 3 degrees nose low. And there I am on course. Oops, I dropped a little bit low, kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, there's my glide path. I'm going to go ahead and drop 10 degrees of flaps, and I'm going to fly 190 heading and about 2 degrees nose low, and I'm going to trim for that. Okay, there we go. Needles are centered. See that? I've got both needles centered. That means I'm on glide path, on course, looking pretty good. But my main control instrument is right here. Wings level, 2 degrees nose low, and the heading that I want is right about 190 right now. 2 degrees and 190. 2 degrees nose low, 190. Now, in a retract gear, I would check to see that my landing gear are down, 3 green. We don't have to worry about that in this plane. Check our flap setting. Flaps are good. Now we're going to start looking at the decision height. We're at 1,400 feet, descending to 1,000 feet for our decision height. Got to keep my descent rate going. I got to keep on course. 190, 2 degrees nose low, trimmed hands off so the airplane can just fly itself without me doing anything if possible. That's what we really want. Trimmed a little bit too nose low. I want to be back up to about 1 degree nose low, and I want a 192 heading. 192, maybe bring the dot up to the horizon. There we go. I'm just above decision height. Just above. Coming on down, 190. Okay, I do not see the runway, so I would have to go missed approach by the normal rules. Now, I just happened to see it right then. Just as I passed, I was just about to go missed approach, and I saw it. So I'm breaking out of the weather, and let me go ahead and land, and we'll talk about this. Okay, so there's my landing. Wasn't the softest landing ever, but that's okay. The main thing I wanted to teach in this lesson was instrument flying procedures and trusting your instruments. So there we go. So what I would say is that in a real life situation, it would have been real close. You probably should go missed approach. And also in a real life situation, I would never attempt to land at an airport with weather minimums this low. If you have to divert for weather or you're in trouble, you need to get down. Then you need to pick an airport where the weather is significantly above the minimums if possible. If it's right at minimums, you're getting into dangerous territory. So I purposely set this weather down right at minimums just for illustration purposes. But in a real life situation, you would really want to keep that in mind and only go to an airport that has weather that's well above minimums. Anyway, the main things that I wanted to teach you in this lesson were trust your instruments, and notice how much time I spent looking at this instrument. And I was constantly saying, Okay, I want this dot 5 degrees nose high on the takeoff. And then when I turn crosswind, I banked 15 degrees, keeping the nose high. And then when I level off, I put the dot on the horizon slightly above, pulled the power back. And when you pull the power back, you have to raise the nose just a little bit. So we were about 1 degree nose high. But the point is, I was looking at this the whole time. And the only time my attention would stray from this is just to cross-check things. Oh, my altitude's coming up. I got to level off. Oh, my heading is drifting off a little bit. I need to correct. Oh, my VVI is too high. I need to nose over just a little bit. Oh, where am I? Oh, this, oh, that. But so you look at all these other instruments, but you don't dwell on any of these other instruments like you do on this. This is, in instrument flying, this is the main instrument that you dwell on. Now, of course, if this malfunctions, then it's a whole new set of rules, and we would talk about that in another video. But if this is working, then that's what you focus on. So, again, the focus of this lesson is to trust your instruments if you ever get into the weather. And don't just look outside and say, oh, it feels like I'm, straight and level. Well, you probably aren't, because your inner ear will deceive you. And that's the quickest way to get killed, is to trust your inner ear if you can't see the ground. So just totally ignore your inner ear. Totally ignore the seat of your pants. Only trust your instruments. This instrument and all these other instruments. Okay? Have a great day.